Hi, my name is Marie Presley, and welcome to my capstone presentation, Equity in Mathematics, an Analysis of Research in Equitable Math Practices. This capstone project is presented to the faculty of the College of Education at the University of Houston. Achieving equity in mathematics classroom has been studied for decades, and the research surrounding the topic has evolved with our increasingly diverse classrooms. For mathematics teachers, providing equitable instruction for a classroom of diverse learners can be a daunting task. Understanding how to effectively teach a culturally and linguistically diverse classroom can be a substantial task for a seasoned educator, let alone a pre-service or a new teacher. Research shows that equity in the mathematics classroom can be achieved through investigating effective classroom practices to serve the culturally and ethnically diverse student population as well as English language learners. The purpose of this study is to analyze current research direction of culturally responsive pedagogy and English language learners to address equity in the mathematics classroom. This research analysis will address the following questions. What have we learned about equity in mathematics? What are the foundational culturally responsive teaching practices revealed through research? And how do we modify our classroom instruction to make it more culturally responsive and to address the specific needs of our English language learners? Julia Geary said in her 2017 research article that there is a long-standing, thoroughly documented, and seemingly intractable problem in mathematics education: inequity. Children of certain racial, ethnic, language, gender, ability, and socioeconomic background experience math education differently, and many are disaffected by mathematics education. Classrooms in the United States are increasingly more ethnically and culturally and linguistically diverse. From 2001 to 2011, the number of public school students that consisted of ethnic and cultural minorities increased from 40% to 48% and is projected to go to 55% by around the year 2023. So we know that children experience mathematics differently depending on their race or ethnicity, their gender, their language, their ability, or their socioeconomic background. A significant amount of research into mathematics achievement gaps seeks to understand the imbalances in achievement between white students and students who are African American, Latino or Latina, English language learners, or the working class. Mathematics education has evolved from studying the achievement gap to focusing on the understanding of relationships of teaching and learning. To further the agenda of equity for students in mathematics, we must operate on the truth that all students, regardless of ethnicity or cultural background or socioeconomic status, can learn mathematics. The National Council of Teachers of Math said in 2014, to close the existing student learning gaps, teachers, education leadership, and policymakers at all echelons must work as a team to attain equity regarding students' outcomes. A steadfast dedication to this effort requires that all mathematics teachers function on the truth that all students, regardless of their ethnicity or cultural background, can learn. Emily Bonner, in her 2014 article, said, teachers' exchanges with students, which are largely social and thus culturally meaningful, have immense impact on students' mathematical identity development and their perceived ability to do math. So we have learned that relationship and trust between the student and the teacher is foundational in culturally responsive classroom. If you look at the picture on the right, it shows that relationship and trust is central to the focus of the relationship. But if you look as the teacher shares power in the classroom with their students, the relationship and trust is central, and it enables communication and knowledge to flow freely. Successful teachers pay close attention to their communications with their English language learner along with their relationship and trust. We've also learned that mathematics learning is a social process. So our teachers building upon that relationship and trust it enables their social process. Learning as far as participation and a sense of belonging has also become a central focus of the math education research. Math education can also be enabled by language and culture. Math education research has also begun focusing on asset-based teaching with a central focus on students' funds of knowledge. So what this means is students or teachers need to not look at the child's diversity in a deficit light, but truly recognize the asset that the children brings to the classroom. And lastly, in many cases, equity in mathematics is considered an addendum or is tokenized in the education process. Adding a last-minute equity amendment to the document or sending an equity expert to attend a meeting is merely putting equity as a peripheral afterthought instead of putting the issue of equity central to our profession. The prevailing assumption that having one equity expert on an education panel or a departmental meeting means that equity is being attended to. This approach puts equity as an addition to the process instead of taking equity and looking at it from a holistic approach. For equity to be properly addressed in the mathematics classroom, we need to link math and equity together and not look at them as separate entities. Today, there is ample evidence that equity continues to be an afterthought in the mathematics education research. As our classrooms are growing increasingly diverse, so does the number of English language learners. Many classrooms have Spanish speakers that are English language learners, but a significant number of classrooms have multiple language. This can be very challenging for a mathematics teacher. Research suggests that making some deliberate changes to our mathematics instruction can greatly increase the mathematical outcome for our English language learners. In 2011, Chaval and Chavez, in their research article, stated 7 specific steps or changes that teachers can make and to make mathematics experience more fulfilling for their English language learners. First, number 1, we must connect mathematics with the student's life experience and existing knowledge. We must no longer look at our ELLs as English language learners as a blank slate we need to fill with knowledge, but we must tap into their existing knowledge and make connections with what they have learned in the past. Second, we must create classroom environments that are rich in language and mathematical content. Many of the students that speak one of the Latin-based languages, such as Spanish, French, or Portuguese, these languages share many commonalities and many similarities in key math terms. Word walls and cognate charts are vital to connect students' native language with English and math. Third, emphasize the multiple meanings of words and allow for communication, gestures, drawings, or using the student's first language. Many mathematical words can be confusing, so we need to assist wherever we can by emphasizing the meaning of the multiple meanings of words. Fourth, use visual support such as concrete objects, videos, illustrations, gestures in the classrooms, and conversations. Whatever we need to support them to give them some concrete background or concrete scaffolding in the classroom is helpful. Number 5, connect language with mathematical representation. This could be as simple as having your students write out an explanation of their problem solving, or having the students come up with a word problem on their own. 6, have essential ideas and key terms visible in the classroom without erasing so that the students can refer to them during classroom. This could be as simple as also including these visuals in their students' interactive notebook. And lastly, discuss examples of students' mathematical writing and provide opportunities for the students to revise or revisit their thinking. Now that we've talked about what research says we can do in the classroom to address equity and support in our English language learners, we need to take some action. Professional development is a great way to learn more about how to support your students. There are numerous online resources and research for teachers. One specific professional development that I found was comprehensive and culturally responsive pedagogy and support for English language learners is the Sanford Inspire website for professional development. For a culturally responsive pedagogy, they offer free 6-hour training that address many of the questions and concerns that new or seasoned teachers would have with regards to culturally responsive pedagogy. These lessons include affirming difference and valuing background knowledge, teachers as agents of change, using warm demand to build student achievement, linking identity and achievement through cultural competence, using critical consciousness to challenge inequity, and working against racial bias. In addition to culturally responsive pedagogy, they also provide professional development for English language learner resources. Their specific modules addressing English language learners are contrastive analysis, learn and affirm language, supporting language development through social interaction, valuing bilingualism, structuring academic conversation, and using morphology to support English language learners. We also need to be reflective in our teaching practice and modify our current lessons to be more culturally responsive. But how do we do that? The Teach Mathematics website has published the culturally responsive mathematics teaching lesson analysis tool to help teachers evaluate their current lessons on how culturally responsive they are, and additionally provides benchmarks to help teachers improve their lesson plans if they are not culturally responsive enough. This lesson analysis tool addresses 6 important categories of mathematics teaching: cognitive demand, depth of knowledge and student understanding, mathematical discourse, power and participation, academic language and support for English language learners, and cultural and community-based funds of knowledge. Each of these categories connects to a rubric scale of 1 through 5 and corresponding reflection prompt. This lesson analysis tool makes it quite easy for teachers who are looking to make their lesson plans more culturally responsive because it gives examples of how to reach the next higher level of responsiveness. The lesson analysis tool can be found at multiple websites by simply putting the title Culturally Responsive Mathematics Teaching Lesson Analysis Tool in a web search engine. So we've talked about a lot. First, I want to go over some of the main points that we've covered. Children of different backgrounds, cultures, and race experience mathematics differently. We as mathematics teachers must recognize this fact and work to support our students so that equity is achieved in our classrooms. We must operate on the fundamental assumption that all children can learn. Equity must be at the center of mathematics education. The transfer of mathematical knowledge is social in nature, and we must value what the student brings to the classroom. As mathematics teachers, we must look at what each student brings as an asset and not a deficit to the classroom. Relationship and trust is imperative for a classroom to be culturally responsive. We must communicate thoughtfully with our English language learners through research practices that have been proven to be effective, like, for example, in the Chabal's article. We must arm ourselves with knowledge and be reflective about our teaching practices. That means we need to learn and implement culturally responsive mathematics practices and be able to reflect on our lessons to determine their cultural responsiveness. Culturally responsive professional development, such as the Sanford and Sire website, professional development is an excellent place to start. And culturally responsive mathematics teaching lesson analysis tool is a comprehensive tool to improve your current lesson plans. And finally, support and reinforce our students' cultural identity in mathematics classroom through including the students' culture in the classroom and assignments. Thank you so much for reviewing my capstone project. I truly hope that this has brought some information to the table that can be useful and valuable, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.